Welcome to Gold Coast Insider, where we bring you business insights, stories, opportunities, and forecasts from movers and shakers across the Gold Coast. I'm your host, Estella Rodiguero. I'm CEO of Regional Development Australia Gold Coast. My guest today is Shaun Roux. Shaun is founder and CEO of BiomeCentric and has pioneered a transformative approach to health and beauty through microbiome-centric innovations. Since establishing the company in 2021, Shaun has led BiomeCentric to become Australia's first contract development and manufacturing organisation dedicated to the microbiome. His commitment to fostering eubiosis and nurturing long-term resilient health and beauty is evident in the company's mission, which focuses on developing cutting-edge products and ingredients that support diverse microbial ecosystems. Under his leadership, the outstanding group of scientists are establishing groundbreaking standards in microbiome skincare, thus redefining norms within the health and beauty industry. Welcome, and it's great to talk to you today, Shaun.
Excellent. Well, thank you for having me on your podcast. It's great to share with the listeners a little bit about the microbiome.
Well, there's a few words there I need you to explain, okay, but I think we'll get to that. But first, let's talk about you. When you left school, was this the career that you had first chosen to follow through on?
Definitely not. I guess sort of, obviously I come from South Africa originally, but the Gold Coast has been here for the last almost 20 years now. So it's been obviously, Gold Coast born and bred almost, I can say.
Yep. So you came to the Gold Coast, and what inspired you to found the company and focus on microbiome-centric innovations in health and beauty?
Look, yeah, sort of I come from a very diverse background of doing different things. And I guess sort of talking about your earlier question is, wasn't set out to, just focus on microbiome. It was always in the manufacturing world, being technical around, and manufacturing, doing lots of different things. I've been privy to do lots of different trades in my career, and it's only been over the last decade, obviously, focusing heavily on manufacturing and commercialization of pharmaceuticals and different products in the space that it sort of brought us, I guess, to that moment, and having obviously tapping into that experience and that background. I obviously felt an obligation to share this with the rest of the world, and that's the reason sort of why I got into the whole microbiome side of things.
So I thought we'd start with, from that point, what is microbiome and why is it crucial for overall health and beauty? So
Okay.
let's focus on what it is first, I guess.
Yeah, look, the microbiome is obviously just refers to as a very diverse ecosystem of microorganisms that's found on the gut and the skin and different environments. Specifically talking about obviously the gut and the skin is sort of the focus area. So we work on that gut-skin axis, that's what's been referred to.
Yeah.
And it's obviously a very essential part of you. Those, the ecosystem, the bacteria. I mean, without those bacteria and those ecosystems, and I guess sort of talking about the term, you get the term dysbiosis, eubiosis, and obviously if those things are out of balance, it obviously creates a dysbiosis, but when they're in balance, it's eubiosis. And we're looking to create that synergy and that support of those ecosystems so that you have long-term benefits when it comes to talking about the skin and the gut microbiome.
So given that it can be the gut microbiome, why did you specifically focus on the health and beauty products, I guess? What inspired that?
Look, it's a very big question, essentially. I guess one of the reasons is probably a bit, coming from the pharmaceutical background, a lot of the pharmaceutical applications takes a very long time to commercialize. And then again, a lot of those applications don't see the light of day. It's always in development and being done. And there's so much science and innovation that's there now and technologies that's available now. And cosmetics and sort of and the cosmetic application and food categories, there's the opportunity now to really do innovative products in that space. And that's the starting point. It's a starting point. So it's probably from a regulation perspective, because a lot of the materials and the things we do is not necessarily at this stage TGA approved. They are materials that's used generate through fermentation and use different bioactive compounds to get the results. So I guess products are designed with the efficacy of the therapeutic, but it's a cosmetic classification, so you can get that real benefits from it.
So it's putting science behind skincare products essentially too, isn't it? It's recognizing the two things that can benefit the cosmetic and skincare product.
Yeah, look, definitely. I think the cosmetic industry, you know, it, it's a very loose area. If I put it this way, there's a lot of cowboys, unfortunately, in the industry, and sometimes it's all about marketing and talking about things that sometimes doesn't have much meaning when it comes to the science world. And it's really our mission to change that thinking of how the cosmetic industry is thought about, and to really develop materials and ingredients and that really, scientifically backed and proven, and to give you the benefits and results. So it's not just another marketing being used to promote products. And so we really want to put that behind
That's science.
the products we develop and we're part of.
Yeah, absolutely. So no more just picking up a container and smelling it like we used to do and going, oh, it's a beautiful pink color. It's got to be good.
Yeah.
I know that's what we do. But what are some of the products that your company supply to, or what are the services?
Looking to talk a little bit more about, I guess, the microbiome and the essential part of it. I mean, let's just think, if we this morning, you took a shower, you used maybe a shampoo to wash your hair, your face, you've put a moisturizer on your skin, you've put a beard oil, whatever it might be that you've used this morning, but all of us utilize in the morning oil some sort of cosmetic. And if you think about what you've done, and if you look at the back of the ingredients panel of that cosmetic that's being utilized, do you know all the chemicals that's in that product? Or can you say, do you know what preservative systems that's been utilized? And sort of ask these open questions, because that becomes the fundamentals of what we do as an example. So there's a lot of, mostly traditionally cosmetics are designed to, when cosmetic formulators can get involved, it's designed to protect the integrity of the product first, and the stability of the product and the safety of the product from a microbial perspective is obviously very important firstly, and therefore certain preservative systems are used to protect the product first. But never before has it really considered the microbiome. So once you apply it to the skin, what's the effect not only on your skin, what it's doing, but what's the effect on the skin's microbiome? So those little living organisms on the skin, every day you're applying that moisturizer to yourself. What are you applying to your skin? Are you killing all of those vulnerable microbes on the skin? That's such an essential part, for to get the longevity and the long-term health benefits from applying that product. And unfortunately, a lot of products are a little bit, in a sense, like antibiotics. Initially you apply them or they use them, and it obviously got the effect, it gets rid of that problem. But if you keep on using it, you will destroy that ecosystem, and obviously you will become ill because of the long-term use of those products. And in a very similar way, it's I guess just the fundamentals about a preservative system. If you apply that moisturizer daily on the skin, you could not have that long-term sustainable results. And what we look at the skin microbiome and look at from that perspective is, what is the impact these preservatives have on the skin? And preservatives only the starting point. It's only the basics of it. There's a lot more that we look at, all the bioactive compounds that we produce, whether it's through fermentation or through other delivery methods delivered to the skin. So it's a very vast, the way that we approach it is very vast, but it starts with those fundamentals, understanding just the simplicity of a preservative system, because most preservative systems are antimicrobial and they will destroy those ecosystems. And it's important that we address that correctly. And therefore we've got a very different approach to preservative systems, the way that we formulate, the way that we put formulations together, and how brands to really showcase the power of the microbiome.
So, is there a lot more consciousness out there of the products, of what we're buying and the ingredients in those products? Have you seen that's increased? I know personally, I'm more conscious. I'll start reading labels. Um, is there a lot more people doing that now? Have you noticed that products have to be more accountable now?
Look, I think you pick up the label, half the time you don't even know what most of those names mean. So to most people, unless you go and research it and look for it and understand what they are, but still is then misinterpreted. So I think and that's kind of where it calls for brands that really advocate and really stands for the microbiome, not just another marketing story, but products that really caters for the skin microbiome, that really is designed. If you think about traditionally, unfortunately, a lot of the big companies, they can't just turn around and say, hey, we cater for the skin microbiome, because most of their formulations are built on old technology. And as science revealing the importance of looking after these the ecosystems of organisms that's on the skin and in the gut, just from that perspective, they can't just change. And therefore, I think there's an opportunity for a lot more innovative brands and new products in the market. And because literally you can apply it to so many different types of products. You think about,
Okay.
we're working on so many different things. We're working from toothpaste, considering the oral microbiome. We're looking at, moisturized skin microbiome. We're looking at the scalp, considering the scalp microbiome. We're looking underarms, and considering, from a deodorant perspective, what those ecosystems, how do they, from an odor perspective, how do we balance those ecosystems with organisms and support and sustain those environments? So you can think about it. There's so many different diversities of where we can apply from a cosmetic perspective, but also then that internal approach as well, because it works on that inside outside approach. Because you can, if you don't look after your insides and those organisms have the right foods and things to metabolize and give you the right uptake in the body, you're not going to get the benefits. So that's why we heavily focus on the inside outside approach to support the skin microbiome that way, and the gut microbiome.
And of course, the skin, it absorbs anything that we're putting on, and it still goes into our system, doesn't it, in the long term? Um, so, your company, BiomeCentric,
Yes.
do you produce product?
Yeah, the reason why BiomeCentric was created, like initially when we started the company, the question was, do we start our own brand,
Yeah,
and just be another brand? But I come from a background of manufacturing and contract manufacturing for most of the leading brands in Australia, and it's been obviously very privy to a lot of different information and seeing a lot of different things in my time in the industry. And I saw a very compelling, overwhelming feeling to not be a brand, but to be a manufacturer that really can support brands to effectively create these products for different brands, because each brand is so unique in what they have to offer. And sometimes you think it's like, oh, but if you done it for this brand and for that brand, no, it's not. It's each brand out there have their story to tell, their audience they communicate to, and whether they focus on various different aspects of skin or gut microbiome, and we're there to support, because essentially, unfortunately, in the manufacturing world, a lot of brands rely on manufacturers to help them with the development and design of products. But not a lot of manufacturers put that same effort and really take things from a scientific perspective. So internally at BiomeCentric, more than half of our staff currently is all scientifically qualified. They are an amazing, exceptional team of scientists, ranging from microbiologists, chemists, biochemists, organic chemists. It's just bioprocessing. It's a very wide range of expertise, and we are very privileged to have such a team and can actually provide that capability. But not just that, our extension to collaboration with universities and industry and academia, that's the next level. And that's, I think we pride ourselves in, one of the parts that I guess we pride ourselves in is to that commercialization. We can take from concept stage to commercialization, understanding to take something from academia environment and to a commercialization environment relatively quickly in a cosmetic setting. But the cosmetic is just the base. It's the means, it's the starting point. Like all innovation, we obviously strive to go into working on further drug development in the space, to more therapeutic applications for these sorts of applications and materials that we are developing and designing. So that's just the starting point, but it starts with the cosmetic, and the cosmetic is industry is $100 billion plus industry. So it's a massive industry.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. So how come this hasn't been done before? Is it technology that has changed? Is it technology that's fast-tracked it?
Yeah, look at technology definitely plays a critical role in it. I mean, it's only, I guess, in the last 20 years with DNA sequencing that really things started evolving around understanding, what's organism, what bacteria is on the skin and in the gut. And it's wonderful to see the advancements of research in DNA sequencing. And we use DNA sequencing as a way and a method to understand those ecosystems and communities on the skin and in the gut, to better formulate, to take those things in consideration. And because the future of what we are working on, there's that personalization aspect, and really to take skin swabs. And that's sort of the things we are working on as well. Take skin swabs, understanding what of those critical communities on the skin is present and not present, and what should be there, and is to restore the diversity and the balance in the microbiome to give you that long-term sustainable health benefits. And that's what we focus on, understanding it through technology. And it's only in the more recent years that those things are evolving. And it's, if you look at microbiome as a whole, and you probably hear that word a lot, but it's a very fast-growing category. There's a lot of passionate people globally, and I can, and fair to say as well as the work that we've done, I think we are inspiring hundreds or thousands of different people to really think about this environment as something. Because it's something that's very unknown. It's something that the eye don't see. It's we're obviously very passionate about the microbiome and sustaining those communities, but it doesn't just stop there. It's all about the impact of the environmental impact as well, and the biomes just in general. What do we do for our natural biomes, our natural resources, and therefore there's some of the materials and things we develop is very much focusing on using Australian natives and more sustainable production of through fermentation and unlocking those bioactive compounds in these materials, and just a very different approach to the traditional cosmetic setting that everyone is so used to.
And I guess from my perspective as a consumer, we've been becoming very aware of our microbiome in our gut, and everyone's talking about the gut, the correct things, the pre and probiotics we should be having. But now it's gone one step further, and now we're realizing that what we're actually putting on our skin, A, absorbs into our bloodstream, and B, has to be accountable. We need now to know that the product we're putting on has that accountability in it, don't we? That what we're doing is...
Yeah, 100%. And that's why it's important to really understand, because unfortunately there's a lot of marketing terms, people and easily the moment, something like a probiotic or postbiotic or prebiotic or even the word microbiome, the moment it obviously starts becoming a bit of a marketing buzzword, it's so easy for brands just to slap it on a label, say it, start talking about it, but have no idea what they're talking about. And that's where we love collaboration. We want to really instill that, working with brands that really want to take this category serious. Yes, I know that everyone's got their marketing story to tell, but I think the fundamentals of the microbiome approach, and we don't want this word just to be abused in a marketing term again. And unfortunately, that's what happens, I guess in a very unregulated a realm of cosmetics and food supplements and things, and people throw words around that they sometimes don't understand because it's just the next buzzword. But the microbiome is it's something to just say. It's not just another marketing word. It's not just another fad that's just out there. This is it's a truly scientifically proven. If you look at the amount of publications in the sector and the amount of research being conducted, it's amazing. It's amazing. If you start immersing yourself into the world of the microbiome, you'll realize the possibilities are endless. And that's what I guess us and BiomeCentric, and that's why the word, the name BiomeCentric, we are heavily focused on the biome, and everything is BiomeCentric. And we could, well, with that focus and understanding the microbiome, so we can develop products and deliver systems and solutions to customers, not just locally in Australia, but globally. We work with global organizations to deliver these sort of technologies globally. And yes, and although we can do all the finished product manufacturing, in Australia, we can do that. We can manufacture the finished product goods in Australia, but we also strongly collaborate with international manufacturers because we help them to understand formulation design and how to deliver microbiome solutions for effective formulations. And by utilizing, maybe some of the materials that we've designed from 100% Australian-made material. So it's 100% Australian. And there's not a lot of companies, unfortunately, a lot of manufacturing is offshore. And that's therefore focusing on the microbiome, we can add high-value items and materials that really can support products in a completely new dimension.
So talking about those products, what role do you see microbiome-based products playing in the future? So I was going to say in the future of health and beauty, but let's expand it. What do you see it reaching? What can it be used for and used in?
It's very vast.
I was thinking that because you started mentioning toothpaste and hair, and I thought, wow. So food?
It's like I said, it's very vast. Let's just talk about, just think about cosmetic in a sense for skin now. So we think about, let's just think about something like for mosquitoes. There's organisms and certain microbes that, why does mosquitoes don't sit on certain people's skin? It's because of the microbiome composition might be different and therefore it doesn't attract. So there's this aspect, there's potential there for insect repellents or changing the way that environment is to do a certain function. Like I mentioned, you think about the oral microbiome. The oral microbiome, it's you put food in your mouth every single day, and the contact of so many different use. It's basically your mouth is almost an inoculation to the gut of different organisms, and you think about that whole diversity of microbes in the mouth, and by just thinking of creating different types of products for oral for oral microbiome to support that diverse ecosystem. And in science, normally it's also been clearly published and proven that there's health in diversity. So the more diverse your environment is on the skin or the gut, it's associated with health benefits and longevity, and that's what's important. So as a first fundamental, we try and increase the diversity of those environments and those ecosystems to drive those benefits.
So do you see BiomeCentric as an R&D more than a producer of product?
Look, we like to think ourselves very uniquely, and I guess that's sort of makes us very different from a lot of manufacturers out there. We are heavily focused on research and development because that's the core and the key to innovation. And traditionally, most, a lot of cosmetic formulations out there, unfortunately, it's traditional bases that's been created for creams and for shampoos and different things. And sometimes people just add a little thing to it and it changes the composition slightly, and it's just the same old same. We are very much different that way. We develop everything from scratch. So it can obviously design for its intent. So therefore it's important, I guess that the whole approach to, how we see those things. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you see the biomedical industry evolving in the next 5 to 10 years?
Look, we're obviously extremely excited to be on the Gold Coast. Like I said in the beginning, I've been on the Gold Coast for a long time, and this is home. I think if you've seen when the Gold Coast was, let's call it 20 years ago, and versus now, there's obviously some massive changes, and it's becoming this vibrant hub of companies and thriving companies that's being set up on the Gold Coast. And to think we're regional, so it's luckily still be classified as regional, and there's such a lot of opportunities on the Gold Coast, and collaborating with those brands and those companies, in that space. So I think the future, being on the Gold Coast, the way we see it for the biomedical industry is that we want to promote biotech in Australia. That's obviously very critical because, face it, if you look at countries like China, we never going to be that from a commercialization perspective. It is enormous, the commercialization, and we don't want that footprint. But biotech in Australia on the Gold Coast is a small footprint, and we can achieve some phenomenal results with not having a massive footprint. And that's why it comes to sustainability. I think the biotech industry, the biomedical, especially us focusing on the tech side of things, there's a massive opportunity for companies such as us, and we can get that support from government, because it sounds sometimes superficial. Hey, we're focusing on cosmetics, but no, cosmetics is, like I said, it's 100 billion plus industry. It's a very, the amount of money that's in cosmetics industry, it's a massive, but that's the starting point. But obviously on the back end of that is more therapeutic solutions. And I think if you have to rely on what Australia has given us, that clean, green message, we have a lot to offer. I mean, if you think from a educational perspective, we've got some of the best universities in the world in Australia. Right here on the Gold Coast.
Absolutely.
There's not enough industry to support those. It's unfortunately, sort of in our trade, we get to see a lot of, unfortunately, people that would go, it's study and dedicate their life and studying in science, but they never get to work in science. And that's where we really it's obviously, it's my desire, my passion to build this biotech hub on the Gold Coast, and really create a thriving biotech industry, and use these professionals and these people that studies in the biomed industry to really give them a completely different route of commercialization. Not only have the theoretical side, but understand the commercialization. How do we get products from A to Z? How do we get it to market in the best possible way? And yes, the cosmetic route is one of those routes. It's a stage approach, easy to market, but the next stage is obviously therapeutic applications and further drug development and what we are doing. But that's just the sort of at this stage, the approach.
So, Shaun, can I go in and buy a product with your biome in it or not?
Yeah, look here, we obviously been developing a lot of products for lots of different companies. Unfortunately, we're obviously under non-disclosures of a lot of those companies, and what we develop. There's, I think in the near future, there will be a lot more transparency with some of those brands and the things we're working on and the collaborations we are doing.
Yeah.
There are a few brands a bit more public, and that we engage more publicly, and that's obviously happy to share these technologies and collaborate with us in that fashion. But I think we are still a very new and innovative company, and those technologies, you will see a massive change. Look on your supermarket shelves, look on what's coming. This is a revolution, and if you believe it or not, it's changing the approach to how you consume products and what you use. But just use and support those brands that are really focusing on the microbiome, because you're not only going to do a benefit for yourself, it's a long-term sustainable way of getting sustainable health, because you're not destroying those ecosystems on the skin. What we're obviously today focusing on the skin, and that you get that long-term results. And if you're looking for those long-term results, because a lot of the products that we use to treat, to put on, or we apply it, it's the same products that's sometimes causing the damage. And because initially you think it's like most people, you open up, I'm the same, you open up a cosmetic, the first thing you do is you smell it, and then after you smelled it, you want to touch it, you want to feel it. But did you know that most of those fragrances, most of those essential oils, they can be very antimicrobial that you place in your skin. And if they're antimicrobial, they're disrupting those ecosystems on the skin. So you are having an effect, so make sure that products you're using, if that's important to you, and if you have a sensitive skin. And I think microbiome skincare is almost that next step about sensitive skin. We're not only catering for sensitive skin, but we're actually catering for the microbes. And if we're catering for the microbes, we're actually catering for our highest level of sensitive skin. But it's scientifically formulated to drive results that is just that on the next level. And once you start using those products, you will be amazed how big they are.
Wow. So most of us buy products, eye cream and all these different products that I've obviously spent hundreds of dollars on that's wrecked my skin. But having said that, we buy it because it's going to give us everlasting youthfulness. If we were just, my understanding is, if we were just to buy a product that had the right microbiomes, we wouldn't be destroying our skin in the first place and thereby not having to do that. Is that correct?
Look, yeah, I think it's probably more is be mindful of what you put on your skin.
Right.
Understand, is the formulations designed as a fundamental, the right preservative systems that not only it doesn't destroy, like it has a very antimicrobial effect. I mean, a lot of our preservative systems we design it through osmotic pressure and water activity modification, so that things stays in homeostasis, and therefore it doesn't kill off the microbes, but it suppresses the pathogens, and it can actually promote thriving as soon as it's diluted, and thriving ecosystems can start functioning when it's diluted, essentially. So it's really, I think if you have to think about it this way, think about, is it building and supporting the microbial diversity on your skin, or are you killing it off, suppressing it? And there's obviously some amazing. So we're presenting some of our new materials at the ASCC coming this May. So we launch a range called the Exobiome. So
I want to talk to you about that.
Exo like the larger biome.
Yeah.
So that's what it's all about. So it's a set of ingredients that's specifically formulated to target the skin on a very high, different level. And people have to understand, you can't just sometimes take a material and throw it in formulation and expect that formulation to work. If that formulation from the starting point, the fundamentals, if it's not developed to deliver that payload correctly, you're not going to have those long-term benefits, because that formulation can't just be another standard formulation where you throw a little lactobacillus ferment or something in there. People need to understand there's a very big difference between just because in the cosmetic world they refer to as the inky list, and the inky list, and it's not very specific about what the product is, and sometimes when it comes to a ferment, as an example, a lot of people will just see a lactobacillus ferment or bifido ferment, and that's obviously the type of bacteria that product is being fermented, or it might be a lysate or referred to. But it's very, very different to understand, because some people just throw it in for the namesake, but there's no science to back up the effect of that particular strain of bacteria or that species of bacteria. That's where we zoom in, and it's when we develop, we really focus on what particular strain and species of bacteria can we utilize to create these benefits. And one of the things we focus on is when these bacteria grows, they excrete all these thousands of different metabolites, and most commonly people will think, probably know hyaluronic acid that's in products. Hyaluronic acid comes from a fermentation process. It's obviously optimized commercially, sometimes not growing it on substrates as probiotic bacteria, but you can grow it on probiotic bacteria like Thermophilus. So there's different things that you can utilize to actually create these things more naturally through process, and those bioactive compounds can play an essential part in the role if you understand the species of bacteria and formulate correctly with it. And essentially what I'm trying to say is, like, you can't just expect to take a raw material, throw it in a product, and it's going to work.
Yep.
The whole formulation, and that's why we're working with material scientists and specialists and formulation specialists to really develop the formulation in such a way to deliver that payload correctly, and target condition, whether you're targeting specifically psoriasis, acne, eczema. What are you targeting? What's the benefit you want to do? Is it anti-wrinkle? Is it, obviously we all want to be younger, and it's, if you understanding, if you look at the blue zones as an example, so we've seen a lot of documentaries lately around the blue zones and the importance of people living in those blue zones. But if you have a closer look, at also the microbes in those environments and diversity. And that's all those sorts of things we consider. And the data would be continuously generate to be able to formulate better, design things better, deliver things in a way that it supports the microbiome and just change the way that the microbiome is perceived, and really understand like the value that it can, by just doing it correctly.
So you lightly mentioned, or you mentioned earlier, that you're going to be launching a product. Is it a product line at the ATCC, which is the...
It's the Australian Society of Cosmetic and Chemistry and Chemists. So so we basically, they've got their conference on in May this year, and we'll be launching a set of 10 new materials that we've taken over the last couple of years, in collaboration with Sydney University, developed a lot of new innovative materials as well to deliver some of these functionalities and to be just on the next level of materials that really can will be a bit more showcased at that event.
Yeah. When you say materials, are you talking like creams and products like that?
Look, we're talking about active ingredients because
Okay.
that can still be delivered in different things. We can embed that into a mascara, and whether that might help for, that environment to support lash growth, hair growth. It's all these different areas. And that would be, so active materials will be developing here in Australia, 100% Australian made materials. That's obviously very
Which brings me to another point. What impact will BiomeCentric hope to achieve in that global cosmetic industry? You mentioned your company specialise but there's not a lot of companies in the world that can do what you do. You must be thinking of taking this globally, are you?
100%. So we're looking for those collaborations globally on a global scale. Brands, scientists, people that's passionate about this area of science to collaborate with us. We get really excited to work with brands that can reach thousands and if not millions of people using products. You imagine this little kid, we all at some stage probably, some more than others struggle with acne. I remember as a kid, the impact it's got on your confidence and many other things. You think about if we can change the way that we use shampoos and different cosmetics and things that we do, and that got the potential to rather support those ecosystems that's naturally on the skin. It's about taking what's naturally on your skin, building that up. And that we just think about it this way. We are just essentially helping enrich compost, like to grow these beautiful fruits and different things. And we can optimize that compost to deliver more specific results. And that's what it's those ecosystems. It's enriching those areas. But going back up to what I will say is, like, you think about as kid, if we start bringing this in kids' products, and they don't have to be exposed to the traditional things that potentially could be triggers to trigger some of those conditions, and that, whether it's acne or whether it's different skin allergies, why can't we be that generation that's part of that move and change the way we formulate? And that's why we're calling on brands like, come and collaborate with us. Let's reach the world, change the way it's thought about. And yes, that's the angle we're coming from, and we're obviously very passionate to collaborate with any scientists in the field and people obviously want to apply this technology. And the same is we want Australia to be that biotech hub. Like, we can be that beacon to the rest of the world to showcase, how we approach, simple things. I mean, you think about Australia, so we're working on some very innovative things, even in sun care. Australia has been looked at as some of the most regulated sunscreens in the world, and just the way that we have to think about sunscreens differently. Even the sunscreen development, how are we applying things? You think things like zinc, that's obviously traditionally in cosmetic formulations, sunscreen formulations. Zinc is antimicrobial. What's the impact on the skin microbiome? Yes, there's lots of different arguments. It's better at this stage, it's better to apply that than to have the UV damage that's obviously damaging the microbes in the skin as well. So there's that benefit. But it's all those things. If you think about the opportunity, it's just everything, there's an opportunity to improve, develop, and make it better. And for that to happen, we need the right investments, the right partners, the right the government, the support from, local government and federal government to support what we are doing. And because it's not just, I think the impact over the long term could be very beneficial. And that's what we love and we're all about.
And for me, the whole piece around accountability is huge as a consumer, is really pertinent, because this is what we're asking for now. We're asking for the evidence around what we're trying to put in our bodies and on our bodies. And I think that's what we've came to as humans, that we want that accountability. So it's been really interesting talking to you. I feel like I could keep talking, but we probably should finish in a minute. But my last question, I've learned a lot today, a little bit of knowledge. You've lived on the Gold Coast for 20 years now. What keeps you on the Gold Coast?
I mean, the Gold Coast, it's a vibrant city. It's, it's not necessarily the hustle and the bustle of the big cities, but it's lifestyle. It's, community. It's coming together, and that's what I love about it, collaboration, working with, with people of a similar mindset. I mean, the Gold Coast is just beautiful. It's got to offer. What doesn't it have? It's like you've got the ocean, you've got the mountains.
Absolutely.
You've got the fishing. You've got it's everything is sort of in a one little setting. So it's just an amazing place to live. And
I guess I always take it from that personal view, but if you look at it from a business point of view, it also has the correct ecosystem, if we're talking about ecosystems, for you to be able to develop something like this as well. So you've got great universities, you've got how many? 2 major airports at international, and you've got really good, the cohort, you've got really good support networks as well that encourage that companies to do what they need to do.
I think another than that, it's those ecosystems. It's the same with the microbiome. It's about building those ecosystems. The Gold Coast got that ecosystem. It's got the right mix of things. It's got that diversity.
Yeah.
And I think it's very much in that similar. You'll see that, that diversity in ecosystems, that's what is healthy, and that's what makes a city thrive. That's what makes your skin microbiome thrive. That's what makes your gut microbiome thrive. And it's just that diversity and really powerful ecosystems where everyone helps everyone.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pleasure chatting to you, and really, really interesting. And I can't wait to see how that launch goes after May. We might have another chat and catch up and see where it's gone and what the outcome of that is. So thank you for speaking with me today.
I really appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening today. For a complete list of podcast episodes and transcripts, go to rdagoldcoast.org.au/podcasts. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or Twitter.